path ahead looks manageable at first. Enemies are spread out, nothing too overwhelming, and then you take a few steps and realize you're already in trouble. Hey folks, welcome back to another board game preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Aygor, Demon's Hollow, a campaign-driven cooperative dungeon crawler for 1 to 4 players, playing in about 45 to 95 minutes per scenario. In Aygor, you and your group are working through a full campaign, moving from scenario to scenario, gaining experience, learning new skills, crafting items, and trying to survive in a world that really doesn't give you much room for error. Right away, one of the biggest things that sets this apart is that there are no dice. Everything is driven through your deck and your resources, which gives the game a much more controlled, strategic feel, where your decisions carry a lot of weight. And yeah, sometimes those decisions feel really great in the moment, and then about 30 seconds later, you're like, okay, that was a mistake. On your turn, you'll start with drawing a hand of cards, and from there, you're deciding how to use them. You can play cards for movement, attacks, and abilities, or just hold on to them to convert it energy later. That creates this really interesting tension because energy is what fuels everything you do. And if you spend too much in one turn, you can leave yourself in a tough spot on the next, which I've definitely done on more than one occasion. On top of that, you're building up surge for more powerful actions. So there's this constant balancing act between what you do now and what you're setting up for later. All of this plays out on a modular hex map that feels very alive thanks to the phase system. As the game shifts between day and night, terrain effects and enemy behavior can change, so the board itself isn't static. A path that looks safe at one moment can suddenly become a problem, and that forces you to stay flexible and keep adjusting your plan as the scenario unfolds. The enemies play a big role in that as well. Instead of just following a simple pattern, they're driven by a shared action deck. On their turn, a card is revealed that determines what kind of action they'll actually take, and that ties directly into their abilities on their individual monster cards, which is pretty cool. What's really interesting here is how they move and position themselves to deal the most damage while avoiding danger when possible, so they feel intentional rather than random. As those turns go by, they're also building up surge of their own, which can power stronger special actions. So even when things feel under control, there's always that sense that something bigger might be coming. Now, just to give you a better sense of how all this comes together, let's look at one of the scenarios, Overgrown Stone. Here you're moving into abandoned chambers that have been overtaken by nature, with the map stretching out in front of you through a mix of tight paths and open areas. Enemies are already positioned across the board, including some that are active right away, and others like the cliff vulture that begin this scenario asleep, but will eventually wake up, adding even more pressure as the game progresses. So as you move through the scenario, you're not just dealing with enemies, you're also working towards a specific objectives, which in this case, you're actually needing to do damage with the spear in order to complete this scenario, which shifts your decision making. It's not always about using your strongest option, it's about using the right one at the right time, even if that means setting something up instead of taking the immediate payoff. And that spear, you actually have to hunt around and find it. And a typical turn really highlights that. You draw your hand of cards and start planning, maybe playing a movement card to reposition without overextending, because that's usually when everything falls apart, at least for me. From there, you're looking at your attack options, deciding whether it makes sense to act now or wait, especially knowing you're going to need to line up that spear damage at some point. You might spend energy to ready a card for a future turn or to coordinate with a teammate, because you're constantly talking through your plans as a group. At that same time, you're keeping an eye on what's happening across the board, especially with enemies that haven't activated yet, because you never know what they're gonna do. Knowing that what you do now can directly impact how difficult things get in that next round. And then when the enemies activate, that's when you really feel the system come alive. A card is revealed, their movement kicks in, and then their abilities trigger based on that symbol. Sometimes it's a straightforward attack. Other times it's something more disruptive, and sometimes it pushes back hard. Aygor also offers a strong crafting element woven into the experience. As you explore, you'll gather resources like wood, rock, or iron, and you'll use skills to turn those into useful items, like tools and weapons, arrows or keys, and other items that help you navigate the map or deal with specific challenges. It adds another layer of decision making without slowing the game down, and it gives you more ways to approach each scenario. Now, across the campaign, your character will grow over time, gaining experience, unlocking new abilities, and becoming more capable as you move from one scenario to the next. At the same time, the game doesn't pull its punches. If a scenario goes poorly, you can lose and have to reset, which reinforces that sense of progression and keeps the tension high throughout the campaign. So, if you're looking for a cooperative dungeon crawler that leans into strategy, careful planning, and meaningful decisions, Aygor Demon's Hollow is definitely one to keep an eye on. Alright folks, just a reminder, this has been a paid preview and everything you've seen has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now that said, this does not look like a prototype. It is so well done already. I can't wait to see what the final looks like. And I got to play the 3 scenarios in the prototype, but I can't wait to see what the overall campaign is going to look like and how that story evolves over time and how you get to evolve your character through the campaign. That's something I'm really looking forward to because you get a small taste of it in this prototype and I can't wait for more. And I love that you have the energy, resources, and how you have to truly manage that in order to make it through this world and be effective from turn to turn. And sometimes you might have to pull back on the brakes and just let yourself recover some energy before you can go on and do something big. It's really a neat aspect, and gaining skills so you can do more and more through the course of the campaign is definitely going to be a key thing, I can already see. And then moving through the map and picking up items and things is also something that's going to be crucial because it is kind of a deck builder to some degree as you expand your deck and get more and more things. Some of the items are going to be a one-time use, but still it adds a lot of flavor to the game and what you're doing. But I think what I really enjoyed the most was the fact that these monsters, the enemies, truly feel like they're doing things purposefully. They're not just there to run up and attack you. They're actually doing effective actions, maybe something that is involved within that particular scenario, but they do feel like they are making real decisions as you pull those cards and as they activate and so forth. Lots of neat things there. And then you really have to watch them because they will gain in strength as they gather surge for their big hit that they're trying to bring upon all the heroes. So again, there's some really neat things going on in this game, and I can't wait to see how it fully fleshes out in the long run. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Like what you just watched? Not only can you find more great videos here on our YouTube channel, you should go check out GamingTrend.com, the longest running independent game and gaming culture site on the web. From the table to the screen and everything in between, at Gaming Trend we cover video games and tabletop games, tech and gear like 3D printers, and even film, television, and comic books.
You'll find the latest news, reviews, and previews alongside our in-depth editorials, weekly newsletters, and the latest season of our tabletop podcast, Tabletop Throwdown.
Also, importantly, Gaming Trend is by humans for humans. No AI is used to generate our content, and we try not to platform products that use what we consider to be exploitative technologies.
So yeah, definitely like and subscribe here, but also go check out GamingTrend.com. We do a lot more than just videos.